5. Let's consolidate some info. The next night, Zook wakes up, gets dolled up, suits up, and is ready to get to the next gathering with the info he has been able to gather, hoping to get a bit more and help them figure things out. Before leaving his man cave, he grabs one of his beige trench coats, one of many. He walks his way upstairs and makes a point of calling for his new pet. Maybe it is a bit better to have something to say hi to, instead of friends who work for him. He asks how Fluffers is doing and asks if she needs anything. She replies,
"No, the other humans have been nice to me. Are you going to be here again? You look different, you have different cloth coverings on."
He answers, happy that she made things so simple.
Yes, I am going to meet other people like me to try to help find out what happened to your human. You can stay here, do whatever you want, do not mark anything, it is not nice.
Yes, my non-human, I have the dirt box to use. Bye.
Zook asks Bud if he was able to find a laser pointer, and he pulls it out to give to him. He tells Bud they need to get to the dance studio for the next gathering, so he can get the car ready. Bud heads to the garage. Around the corner, on the way to the garage, Zook finds where the cat has rested and turns on the laser pointer right in front of her. The reaction is unexpected. Fluffers arches her back and her hair stands at attention as she immediately hisses at it. She quickly pounces on it as well, and Zook walks around the corner making it disappear again, towards the entrance to the garage from inside the house. Before he closes the door, he sees the cat running down the hall to get his attention, but he closes the door before any discussion. Bud drives him to the gathering, which isn't too far from his place, and waits outside like always. He set in one of his new audiobooks, he is separately listening to, when he had to wait like this. Zook walks in and looks around. As usual, he gauges who has made it already. Tina is there with her misfits, and most of the rest of the crew is in already as well. He guesses he lost a little time, messing with the cat. A few more had to filter in, but they eventually got things started again. Zant speaks in her calm tone.
Okay, what have we been able to find out so far?
Zook raises his arm getting Zant's attention, and Petey, a known, kooky guy, who rarely had things to contribute to the gathering, other than comedy relief, stands up and has something to say.
Okay, I have something that needs to be known.
He tries to say this in his serious voice, which could either lead to a joke he heard over the last decade, or something to bring to the collective.
I know a few doctors in the hospital, you know, where they stay, and I was able to use the info given by the nice lady up there, a princess among men and women, the Adonis, no female Adonis. Who was the female Adonis?
Petey, please, help us out.
Zant calls out. Petey smiles, and says in a playful tone.
Oh, sorry nice lady. Zant gave me the name to try to find out information, and I talked to doctor ladies, and guys. I got the name and number of Jane Doe, 425511964425. The information on the exam, I saw there were big words like exsanguinated, toxicology, enlarged.
Petey.
Zant shouts.
Sorry. Okay.
All the playfulness leaves his voice.
I found out that the lady, who was killed of blood loss, doctors found an imprint of a J and S imprinted in her neck, likely from choking with the hand covering the necklace and pressing down hard. They didn't know how it could have been imprinted on her neck, but there was nothing in her personal effects, from what the doctor ladies had that showed it, and they don't know about anything if it is with the cops, it was not listed. She was drunk, like really drunk, her blood alcohol content showed at 0.20, which is over double the legal limit, and she had most of her blood gone, not that she was driving, but if she was driving, meant she would have been all over the place, or passed out tired. Oh, I know, Helen of Troy.
Good, thank you, Petey.
Zant smiles back at him.
The female Adonis. She was pretty, right?
Petey answers his question, to himself, from earlier. They are used to Petey's anecdotes. Zook waits a bit to see if anyone else has things to say. He stands and pulls out his notepad.
Don't know the name yet, I got the Jane Doe number and gave it to Zant, she got it to Petey. The JS might be her or her lover's initials, which would help us find more info. I'm not sure about the necklace, I can check with the cops tonight to see if someone might have, 5-finger discounted, it. I went to the scene and checked things out. I think she was a member of someone's feeding set. She wasn't any of ours, but we do have an unexpected witness. I've discussed a lot of things with her, and he likes drunk blood, but who doesn't? There is a brand of champagne she buys, I'm on that as soon as I can check on the cops and see if anyone took the necklace, or maybe the killer did. She has been fed on by him for some time, she was kept, apartments were in a shell company, and so were other places, she has moved around quite a bit, this isn't some random situation, her death was on purpose.
Zant replies.
I have 3 vineyards in France, 2 are champagne ones, 1 in Spain, and 1 in Italy. I might be able to help.
Another, Becca, replies.
I also have 2 in California. What is the brand?
I'll check on it, I looked it up, and it is a local brand, it is called Taste of a Grape, a small vineyard, but we'll find out, it will take a couple of hours to get out there, I might need to go tomorrow night and wake them up. Or I'll get my retainers to drive me up there late tomorrow, we'll see. One of you can check and see if they sell to different stores, or if they sell at the vineyard or whatever.
Paul, near the back, stands to speak.
I spoke with Sammy, he is sort of a go-between for a lot of the shady dealings around town, he did some checking for me last night. To his knowledge, there hasn't been anyone recently losing any drug mules, or high-end girlfriends recently. This sort of checks with Zook's story though, she isn't just some bystander or some hit for a gang-related thing, she was kept by one like us, another vampire. It could have been the Fang from our previous attack, but we were not able to drop the last big guy, it could be the 1 or 2 that got away, we certainly couldn't keep track of them all.
Zant states.
It could be one of them, but let's not forget, we haven't found Alisane, the magician after the last fight, she was taken, nor Seth of the Hidden Ones who we haven't seen for some time either. I've tried to summon them both mystically and it has not worked, but there could be a ton of reasons why. I'm not worried they are mixed up in this, I'm worried about worse. Find out more of this, everyone, this is not some small murder, something else is happening here. Alisane's blood family has been calling about her, and we don't want to have them come down, but we might not have another choice. She is an important one, and her being lost does not look good for us. Get a move on, we need more from everyone.
Zook stands up and walks his way out, and is intercepted by Tina.
Zook, you find a witness? Is she back at your place safe? Can I help? Who is it?
Zook answers, since she is adamant about it.
She is being kept somewhere safe, yes. You have something else to do?
Zook has one more stop before heading off, he needs to speak with Mikola, the known hacker out of the vampires in his organization in town, but he is of Petey's blood family. None of them are easy to deal with. He sits with Petey and their family, is looking around the room and chuckling, but Mikola isn't the cheerful type.
Hey Mick, can I ask you a couple of questions? The police have the woman's hard drive, what might you need if we can trace anything from this woman's keeper?
Mikola, a greasy black-haired man, hair matted to his head, tall and skinny, looks back.
Like what? If you can get me the hard drive, I can handle things if possible.
Zook replies.
It might be tough, it is in evidence, but I have a possible contact trying to get into the machine. If we can get in, what sort of stuff might you need to figure something out?
Mick tells him what he needs.
Well, if you are lucky, if you can get any emails, they might have their name in them. If they are careful, the best thing you could do is get me some emails that were sent, the whole email not forwarded. Start a new email. I'll give you an email address to send it to. Attach as many emails as you can to it, from the unknown source, and send it to me. Then give it about 30 seconds to send it, then delete it from their sent folder. I don't want it being traced somehow. I can possibly pull the headers from them and see. Don't forward emails from the cop's computer, Those will have the email info from that wrong computer.
Zook finishes with,
Sure, whatever you say. Geek.
He says this with a smile, walking away. Mick calls back at Zook.
And proud? You old geezer? You are the one that asked.
Zook spins, and sees Tina, at his side, who is paying attention, eagerly listening to their conversation, and smiling.
Tina, please, get some advice from Zant on perhaps where you should check around to see if you can help with either influence or whatever. I have to get a few things done tonight, and I don't have time to babysit.
Tina's smile disappears, and she whispers back to no one, and walks off.
Jerk.
Zook didn't have much time to speak. He might have let her down harshly, but he needs to get to the precinct, and see if that necklace is in evidence. He sort of doubted it, but he needs to check. If not, then eventually to the vineyard. He keeps walking without looking back.
Bud, we need to get back to the precinct.
Zook pulls out his cell. He does have a call that he is too busy to check till he gets into his car. It is from the Fonz, or in real life, Gables. He checks his messages, and he didn't get an exact one, thanks for the tip, but in the message, it seems like things work out. He isn't supposed to tell API about the investigation. Perhaps it would be a good time to add to his menagerie of people he is friends with, which could save him some time. He makes a stop at the local, late-night donut place, to get the cops a treat. A couple dozen usually helps the night crew. They were due for a treat, and it wasn't only for an unhealthy breakfast. Not many cared as he did. He pulls out a syringe, and makes a small addition to a couple of them. They make it to the police department a short time after, and Zook goes in, stopping at the front desk to drop off some treats for the crew. He checks to see if Cooper is on duty like he is most nights, and he is, and he takes him a small paper plate with his favorite, a cherry fritter. Cooper's mouth widens into a smile.
Oh, you crafty man. You know how to spoil us.
Zook matches his smile.
Well, you know, big guy, I come asking for what some might call suspicious news, and I don't want you to feel offended or anything. Look at me, Coop, and don't get upset.
Zook revs up the blood power, to control some of his good friends, or manipulate humans, like he usually did as a vampire.
Coop, I need to know, to your knowledge, tell me the truth now, did the Jane Doe a few nights ago have anything that didn't find its way to the evidence locker? Looking for a necklace she might have been wearing.
Detective Cooper takes a bite of the given fritter, and answers.
So, you trying to say, someone might have taken jewelry?
He is a really practical and blunt guy. He looks through his desk folders in his locked drawer and pulls out the file again.
No, not that I know of. I was on the investigation and I checked out the body fairly early. She didn't have a necklace, but she did have a pretty big red mark around her neck. We thought that the attacker did strangle her, but we thought the loss of blood was the primary cause of death.
Looking through the folder, he confirms.
Yep, no jewelry, she didn't have much, a few sets of clothes to fit in a couple of suitcases, which she also had, the cat carrying case, exercise bike, litter box. We still haven't seen the cat.
Zook takes a couple quick notes, then asks.
Have you been able to find out the victim's name yet?
Cooper answers.
No, sadly, we've looked around. There was some evidence that drew us to something, but we'll need the warrant to speak to them, some liquor she had, but I can't go into too much detail. We haven't found much else, her DNA isn't through the system, and we couldn't find other DNA of the killer around the place, but there certainly was some naked athletic activity that happened around the place. There was evidence of that, but no guy DNA, which is unusual in this sort of case. There was no sign of struggle in the tub.
This is okay. Cooper doesn't know Zook was through the apartment already, with most of the needed stuff like that.
Well, I've got to talk to the Fonz, he has some news.
Zook gets up, and walks to the back.
Thanks for the late night snack.
He hears on his way back, and he waves, bringing back Art's favorite, powdered jelly donut. He knocks on the door to be nice, and hears someone telling him to come on in.
Hello, good sir.
Zook puts on a polite face and does the gentlemanly thing, handing over the late snack. He is looking closely into the hacker's eyes.
So, Fonzie, I know you found something out. What is the deal? Like Coop says, everything is fine. I'm one of the good guys, one of the team. What were you able to find?
Not only has he manipulated the same hacker recently, but he brought a natural helper, a favorite donut of the victim. He did not have to try hard.
Sure, Zook, I found out her password, was sort of proud of her actually. Fluff3RZ was her main password, which is a point for her for some originality, but a point down for her because she is making things difficult. So, I got in, and she was being too careful here. She doesn't use her name, her email address is fluffersmoma, and she uses social media, but she doesn't use her name there either, uses the same name. Either she was good with computers and didn't want her identity out there, or she was being coached not to use anything. Looked all over, but no documents, no love letters. She does have some emails from a few different accounts though, but they are all messaging her, and they all are signed with an S. Maybe it stood for shit, or shithead, man.
Zook looks into the eyes of the hacker.
Hey, you could use some coffee, with that donut, right? You should leave your computer unlocked, and go get some. I'll watch it for you, you don't mind. I'll wait till you get back.
The hacker does stand up, without locking his computer, something he does not usually do, nor does he trust someone else in his little office of hard drives and thumb drives of evidence. The compelling ability to leave and get himself a cup of coffee overwhelms his nature. He could use a nice cup indeed with cream, sugar, and chocolate. He sometimes likes some coffee with his sugar. He opens the door and walks down the hall. Zook sits in the hacker's chair, and starts looking through some of the victim's emails, and sees many from this S, signifying the likely keeper and attacker. He starts an email to Mikola, and drags and drops emails into it, and it works with him to set them up as attachments to the email. He gets a dozen emails, set in as attachments, and sends them to Mick. Giving it 30 seconds or so, he then deletes them from the sent folder of the email account. In this case, it is the victim's email account, so that it would not be traced back unless they know where to look. He next goes to her social media and looks for any pictures. Kids these days like to take pictures of themselves, and he finds that she is not an exception. Even though she had no happy pictures at home, she had a few on social media. He pulls out his cell, and takes a picture of one of her on screen, so that he can ask others about her. He still has a decent amount of time. He knows it takes a couple of minutes to walk to the break room and back, but he needs to make sure this isn't considered strange. He locks the computer and sits back in his seat waiting for the Fonz to return. Gables does return, but behind him, Cooper is following, and with the rest of his fritter and coffee, closes the door behind Art. He has to be careful about using his blood power mind effects with others in the room, of course, while another is watching, so he just speaks back to Art when he sits down.
If you guys have stuff you need to discuss, I'll be back later.
Zook gets up and walks out of the room. He hears within the room from Detective Cooper.
Did you leave the computer unlocked with another in the room?
The reply back is pretty rough.
No, I locked it. I trust him anyway, don't you?
Zook continues to walk. He might have to do a little cleaning up here. He makes his way to evidence and walks in. The precinct has their evidence room set up with a small viewing room, large storage behind a thick pane of glass, and a thick door walk to the back. A woman is sitting in a chair at a computer clicking away, and Zook is guessing she is playing solitaire.
Hey back there, how are things?
She calls back through a muffled speaker.
Good enough. How are you doing tonight?
Could complain, but you don't have enough time in the night. I'm wondering if you can find evidence in a case for me. It is pretty important.
Paperwork?
She asks through the thick window pane.
A little attention, if you please.
The woman looks at him, and sees him, not a cop, but someone else she hasn't seen.
You are?
He looks into her eyes, pulls out a notepad, doing his thing.
I gave you the paperwork already, and everything checks out. Jane Doe, 4255119644425. Need you to check personal effects for any jewelry, possibly a necklace with initials on them? Any other evidence out of the ordinary? The lead detective on the case, Cooper, needs to know. Let me know if you find anything.
The woman's eyes glaze over, and she nods, slowly. She monotonely says,
Everything checks out. Let me get the case code from the computer 1 second.
She looks away, and checks the computer, gets some information, possibly the case code, and walks back into the storage area. She takes perhaps 3 minutes, a bead of sweat almost forms on his head. It was taking too long. She walks back with nothing.
No other personal effects were with the evidence. A blanket and sheet set are with forensics. Some other clothing was gathered recently. The victim didn't have many other personal effects, and there is nothing else in evidence. Where is the paperwork I had?
He looks into her eyes once more.
Oh, you put it in the system all ready to check on the evidence. Everything is fine, thanks for checking.
After getting what he needs, he walks out of evidence. He makes his way back to Art, and knocks on the door. He gets the invite in and walks in. Cooper is no longer in the room.
Hey Fonz, how are things?
Not bad, I was just talking to.
He is cut off by Zook looking into his eyes, intently using his blood power to affect the human's mind, giving him little chance to withstand the practiced craft.
You will not remember me suggesting to you to go get a cup of coffee. You thought of it yourself. You needed coffee to go with your donut, from the gifted donuts that quite a few got from the break room. You also remember locking your computer screen before getting out of your seat for coffee.
Gables answers back, making up part of the story in his mind.
I didn't think of anything strange when I came back into my office. Right.
Zook closes the door slowly, as he walks away. Before it fully closes, he hears back from the hacker.
Sure Zook, that makes a lot of sense. Hey guy, the jelly in this tastes strange. They aren't old or anything, are they? Where did you get it from?
Made recently, the same place as usual, big guy.
He walks away smiling. He makes his way back to the squad room, but he couldn't see Cooper in the room anywhere, nor in the break room. He checks the bathroom as well, but no one is in there. He uses his enhanced senses to check, not even a heartbeat. He needs to find Cooper eventually to make sure nothing is wrong, but it is probably fine to get back to it. He is pretty sure he did not mess up much.